Hello, this is Dr. Michael Greger coming to you live from my treadmill as I do every month to answer any questions you may have. For those of you unfamiliar with my work, every year I read through every issue of every English language nutrition journal in the world so busy folks like you don't have to. And in fact, these last, 3 weeks since I canceled my speaking tour, I've been reading every single article, not just every single journal dedicated to infectious disease, but every single article published on the pandemic crisis. There's about 100 to 200 a day if you include preprints. And so that's about 4 hours a day. That's just looking at the new stuff. And of course, there's about 2,000 articles published on other deadly coronaviruses like SARS and MERS, and digging deep to see what lessons we can get from all that. All to put into a new book, which will hopefully be out electronically in May, How Not to Die in a Pandemic. Hopefully I'll do an audiobook too, if I can find a studio locked down to record the audio. And so we want to get that out as soon as possible. Of course, we don't want to wait to get out this critical information. So I'm doing a webinar April 8th. So please, if you're interested, sign up for that. I think Zoom only allows a maximum of 5,000 participants. I think we're already 3,000. So do it, sign up sooner rather than later. And I believe in the description for today's Q&A here on YouTube, there is a there should be a link for you. And if not, you can go to NutritionFacts.org and find it. I also just did a Facebook Live for half an hour. Of course, lots of questions about the latest virus. I ended on what about zinc, something I did kind of a deep dive into. And so if that question doesn't come up today in the YouTube live, then you should check out Facebook. Okay, but let's start to run down your questions. James 921 asks, can using green tea as mouthwash or adding foods like berries stain your teeth? Absolutely, you can stain your teeth. Typically, I wouldn't think green tea, but black tea, certainly. Coffee can do it. Berries, things like that. And so you can rinse. We can do a couple things. One, the staining process is the staining kind of the plaque on your teeth, which then stains your teeth. And so if you don't have plaque on your teeth, there's less staining. And so if you only brush once a day at night, and then you wake up and drink coffee all morning, all that stain is attaching to your plaque. So if you get up in the morning, and before or after you drink coffee, you brush your teeth, then it's less likely then you have these kind of staining effects. So yes, good oral hygiene is the way to do it. And worst comes to worst, you can always whiten your teeth. But of course, it's all just cosmetic. So who gives a damn, particularly in the time of a pandemic? Daria Wolfire asks, COVID-19, any advice? That's all I'm doing. I have lots of advice. And so that's the webinar, that's the new book. And of course, the most important thing we can all do right now is, if possible, stay home. And so we can slow the spread of this virus until we have diagnostic testing capacity up, until we have hospitals that aren't overrun. And eventually, when we have a vaccine, hopefully we won't have to obtain herd immunity without it, which would mean as many as 60% of us could get infected. But hopefully we'll slow the disease down quickly enough that we can stamp it down and periodically shelter in place long enough till we get a vaccine, and then we can get immunity the way we should have all along. All right. Ja K says, can you slowly roast almonds without increasing AGEs? It's really not the speed of roasting, but it's the temperature. I believe it's 250 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep below that. You don't have to worry about AGE formation, but I don't think they're really going to roast at that temperature. So I encourage people to eat raw nuts and seeds and raw nut and seed butters instead, because of these advanced glycation end products. Excuse me. Coughing into my elbow. Okay. The Garden of Vegan asks, greetings, love your books and your work. What do I think about intermittent hypoxia or breath work, such as Buteyko or Wim Hof method? I've never heard of such a thing. Sounds like first thing I thought of was autoerotic asphyxiation. I'm sure that's probably not what you're talking about, but doesn't sound good to me. But I don't know anything about it. Never heard about it. But if there's any science out there, if you want to do a PubMed search and send me some articles, and there's something interesting, groundbreaking, practical for people, I'll do a video about it. Black Masta says, was just replying to somebody else. Lori Clarkson said, are there recent studies stating vitamin D has a negative effect on bone health? I thought that's why I take it. From Vancouver, Canada. Much love. I'm fine. I just haven't talked in long. I think I'm fine. I just haven't talked in a while because I've just been working. Okay. Where are we? Vitamin D. You take vitamin D so you don't become vitamin D deficient in Vancouver, Canada, where even if you sunbathe naked outside in January and February, it's at such a latitude that you will not be able to make sufficient vitamin D. There's some vitamin D still stored in your fat stores, but your levels drop in the wintertime at that latitude unless you take frequent Caribbean vacations, which are kind of out of the off the table at this point. You need to get your vitamin D from somewhere. I recommend 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 every day. One of the reasons is bone health, lots of other reasons. And is there a recent study showing that vitamin D has a negative effect on bone health? I would be very surprised. I certainly have not seen it, but if you found it, send it my way. I have been, I have not been looking at all the nutrition and chronic disease work over the last 3 weeks since I canceled my speaking tour. It's been all SARS-CoV-2 all the time. Okay, Avocado Ally says, are any oils healthy for us? Well, the oils packed inside the cell walls of a walnut, that's healthy, but not walnut oil itself. And of course, oil containing hand lotion or cream after you frequent hand washing can prevent your hands from drying out from excessive hand washing. There's not much, it's hard to say excessive hand washing these days, but from frequent hand washing and frequent hand sanitizing with alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Okay, is gaining weight, this is from someone, it looks like it's in Arabic, so I can't pronounce the name, is gaining weight with whole food plant-based, in spite eating 100% healthy and whole food plant-based and scoring of 29 to 24 on the Daily Dozen, of increasing food intakes that normally affect body. Okay, so it sounds like you're saying you're gaining weight despite a whole food plant-based diet. So that is, I wrote a book for you, How Not to Diet. And so if using that same app, Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, you switch over to weight loss mode, there are these additional 21 tweaks to accelerate weight loss regardless of what you eat the rest of the time. And I would encourage you to try to fit in as many of those into your daily routine to lose excess body fat. Gina Woodburn asks, upon which of the various epidemiological projections for COVID-19 are you basing your own family safety practices? We don't need projections at this point because we're not the first country that has gotten it. If we were China, then we need modeling. We need projections, right? But we have, dozens of countries now that have come first. And we can see what happens, and we can see what different measures, policy measures, we can take, different countries have taken to flatten the curve. I think it's very instructive, for example, that South Korea and the U.S. got their first case diagnosed within 24 hours of each other. But look at the two curves. They were able to stamp the pandemic down thanks to diagnostic testing and tracing. They had kind of a run through in the 2002 with SARS, and so they had everything in place. We should have as well, but we are way behind in testing, and so we can't trace who's infected. And so we can't isolate all the contacts. And so basically, now that the disease is out in the community, all we can do is all assume that we have it and stay away from everybody. We just need to keep everyone away from everyone to break as many transmission chains as possible. That's why sheltering in place is the way to go. If you absolutely, if you can, in hopes of slowing the spread until we have the diagnostic capacity, until maybe we have some antiviral drugs that can help, until we have a vaccine, until our hospitals are not overrun. This is not the time you want to be sick, so stay home and take care of yourself. Frostberry asks, do canned peeled tomatoes count as a vegetable? Absolutely. And what a great shelf-stable, pantry-stable thing to have. Like canned beans, I've got a whole case of canned tomatoes. Not for the pandemic, just because I love them so much. And so, yeah, yummy. There is, Jeff Novick, one of my favorite dietitians in the whole world, made his one of my favorite DVDs of his called Fast Food, made it free for a month, I think for 30 days to support people while they're shelter in place. Basically, it's just like how to make really yummy, healthy food with shelf-stable products like canned tomatoes. Just follow me on social media, and I'll post on social media if you can't find the link immediately. It's Jeff Novick, Fast Food, just placed on YouTube, but I believe he's going to take it down within a month, so you got to check it out soon, or you can just get the DVD. Tyler Rose says, what B12 do I take? I take cyanocobalamin, the most shelf-stable form. I actually take 2,500 micrograms a week, even though I don't have to. That was my old recommendation. Now we realize you'll just have to take 2,000 micrograms a week, but I had a whole bunch of 2,500 before. So, and you just pee out any excess. So don't worry about it. But, or you can take 50 micrograms of cyanocobalamin a day. Or if you're over age 65, which I am not yet, you need to take 1,000 micrograms a day of cyanocobalamin. Okay. Black Master says, is replying to somebody. Eddie Seslowski says, thank you for what I do. You are so welcome. The Garden of Eden says also, we'd actually love to see more on food combining food synergy. I don't think I have any videos coming out soon on that, but I'll keep an eye out. Grant Hansen says, one of my tweaks is to fast after 7 p.m. I'm talking about my 21 tweaks to accelerate weight loss and to time restrict eating for 12 hours a day, early time restricted feeding. More particularly, does this include drinking water? It does not include drinking water. So when I say fast after 7 p.m., that does not have anything to do with water. Drink water. You can drink water while you're fasting. In fact, you should very much drink water while you're fasting. And so, absolutely, yes. All right, Black Master says, can peel just replying to somebody. Peter M&M says, you mentioned before that we should shoot for 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram of body weight of protein intake. Doesn't that mean there should be a limit on protein-rich foods like legumes and nuts? So I encourage people to eat 3 servings of legumes a day. That's beans, split pea, chickpeas, lentils, hummus, you name it. As part of my daily dozen checklist of all the healthiest of healthy foods, I encourage people to fit into their daily routine as well as a serving of nuts every day. No need, if you do the math, you should nail the protein just perfectly. Leanne says, mom diagnosed with IDC, presumably intraductal carcinoma, and recommended to get surgery radiation, and estrogen lowering drugs. Age 60, 69% whole food plant-based. Is this over diagnosed stage 0? And if moving forward, is it safe to wait until pandemic subsides first? And so I would encourage you, I did a number of videos on intraductal carcinoma in my mammography series, and I encourage you to check those out. And it would be a matter of bringing that data to the attention of your oncologist, and seeing if there is something that we don't know about. So maybe there's some pathology report that it's actually worse than you thought, or there's been some spread, or it's particularly whatever. So you just want to make sure But you want to make sure that your doctors are knowledgeable about the data, which suggests in most cases it is indeed overdiagnosed, and the treatment could be worse. The treatment could be worse than the quote unquote disease. Andy M says, what are the effects of staring at screens for long periods on eyes and sleep? Well, I do encourage people to, it's those blue wavelengths. And so Apple products have this screen thing, where that, on their phones, and I don't know, their laptops and stuff, that has that, you can turn on, and it pulls the blue wavelengths out as the night approaches. And so your screen looks kind of yellow. I love this free app called Flux, Flux, which is what I use. And you can set it to make it as yellow as you want. And so my screen gets really, really yellow at night. It's because I work late into the night, and I don't want it to interfere with my circadian rhythms. And so, yes, it's something that I take seriously, and I encourage people to do as well, because it could actually interfere with your sleep otherwise. It's funny. Some of you may have been at my talks when I've forgotten to turn off that setting. And so just right at night, I'm giving a talk, and all of a sudden, everyone in my video, everyone on the screen starts looking really jaundiced. That's because everything's getting yellow. And then I have to be like, sorry, I forgot to turn off Flux. All right. Anyway, but check it out. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Ja K says, are rhubarbs and amaranth high in oxalates? Rhubarb is certainly the reason why rhubarb leaves. I don't think it's even legal to sell them, is because the oxalates are actually poisonous because you have too much oxalates. But yes, rhubarb itself is high in oxalates. Amaranth, I'd have to look it up. But I don't remember it popping up as being particularly high. We do know what's high: spinach, Swiss green, Swiss chard, and beet greens. Okay. And so we should not eat cups of those greens every day, but we should eat cups of dark green leafy vegetables every day. We just have to diversify our greens. Okay, not a time to be coughing. All right. One mean bean asks, what's the best food for building muscles? The best food for building muscles is called weightlifting. It's called resistance exercise. It's called, there's no substitute. Muscles don't just appear because you eat something. Your body's not stupid. Your body only makes muscles if you use muscles. It's use it or lose it. Same thing with bone health. Right? Why we lose bone? Because we're sitting on the couch and our body says, why am I making a skeleton if you're not going to use it? So weight-bearing exercise is the way. Anyway. But in terms of what can you eat to maximally build muscle? Well, by eating an anti-inflammatory diet, a plant-based diet, you can improve recovery time. So you can just get back to the gym and work out those same set of muscles sooner. But it's the weights that are it's the resistance exercise that are increasing your muscle mass, not your diet. Okay, Sandy R says, after breastfeeding, best milk to give a 1-year-old. Doc said, cow's milk over plant milk. Your opinion, please. Breast is best. So, well, what forever reason you can't breastfeed? Well, then go to the La Leche League and learn how you can breastfeed. You say, well, no, there's absolutely no way to breastfeed. Well, then go to the La Leche League. Maybe they can recommend a breast bank where women generously donate some of their excess breast milk to women that cannot provide breast milk of their own. So critically important, breast is best. No substitute. They're all bad. All substitutes are bad. N8 Dizzle says, does the advice about ibuprofen and COVID-19 apply to other NSAIDs? And if so, could cumin carry the same risk? Okay. So I think it was on Instagram. I put out this after this Lancet editorial was published, suggesting that people may want to stop taking ibuprofen unnecessarily because it can chronic ibuprofen use, and in terms of what it does to your blood pressure, that's defined as like 4 or 5 days in a row, increases your expression of this ACE2 enzyme, which is where the virus latches onto. And in fact, one theory or one hypothesis as to why people with these comorbidities like hypertension are at such higher risk may be because they're taking these ACE inhibitor drugs that are likewise increasing ACE2 expression. I mean, it's easy to see why those with heart disease are at higher risk for dying with pneumonia, because pneumonia can really be taxing on the heart. In fact, if you look at just regular community-acquired pneumonia before the pandemic, like 3% go into cardiac arrest. I think it's like 1 in 30 suffer a heart attack within 30 days after an inpatient case of pneumonia. I mean, being hospitalized with pneumonia is it puts tremendous stress on your heart. Okay. But wait a second, why high blood pressure? I mean, why would high blood pressure so increase your risk of dying from COVID-19? And one of the hypotheses is they're on ACE inhibitors. So ACE inhibitors are one of the most popularly prescribed drugs in the country. So, for example, lisinopril, I think, is the third most popularly prescribed drug. More than 100 million prescriptions every year in the United States alone. 100 million prescriptions. So there's lots of people on ACE inhibitors, and maybe that's why those with diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension are at high risk. Now, you do not want to just stop your blood pressure medications because this is not the time to have a stroke when the hospitals are overrun. But the unnecessary use of drugs like ibuprofen, which may have a similar effect, wouldn't be a good thing. Of course, it's never a good thing to unnecessarily take any drug. As many as 80% of NSAID users, NSAIDs of this class of drugs like ibuprofen and aspirin, up to 80% suffer gastrointestinal toxicity. If you actually put a scope down people's throat and you start bleeding within about 5 minutes of taking one of these drugs, internally now, it's all about risks and benefits. And so if there's no benefits, then you don't take the risks. And even if ibuprofen has nothing to do with COVID-19, you still don't give NSAIDs for acute respiratory infections. People that take ibuprofen for regular pneumonia do worse than those that don't. So this is not the time. And in fact, you say, well, what about Tylenol or something? Well, Tylenol doesn't do anything with these COVID-19 receptors, but you still may not want to treat a fever routinely in an acute respiratory infection situation. Why? Because fevers are there for a purpose. Fevers are actually beneficial in many cases. You don't want to treat a fever just kind of willy-nilly, regardless. So lots of reasons to second guess ibuprofen unless the benefits outweigh the risks. Whew, okay, that was a bit of a rant. Where was I? Len Zeeth says, I've been a vegan for about 3 months, eating very healthy, but keep getting irregular heartbeats. You may have something called atrial fibrillation, in which case you should see a physician, see if that is indeed the case, and you may have to be treated for it to prevent clots from forming in your heart. So, and dietary interventions, with few exceptions like caffeine consumption, etc., don't have anything to do with the AFib that we know. But yeah, definitely get it checked out. Black Master says all Whole Foods put, that's just replying to somebody else. Peter M&M, you mentioned, yeah, we did that one. The chosen comment asks, any advice for those with sleep apnea, weight loss, right? So sleep apnea, the reason why people who are obese have sleep apnea where they stop breathing in the middle of the night is actually intratongue fat. If you do an MRI, they have fat inside their tongue muscle, and that actually swells up their tongue, the back of their tongue, and that's why we think people who are obese are so much more likely to be sleep apneic. So losing weight critically, treat the cause, of course. And now there's other causes as well, and you may have to be put on a CPAP machine where you get this continued positive air pressure, where you kind of wear this mask at night, and it pumps air into your lungs, keep your airways open. And people don't like it because it's uncomfortable, but you will get used to it And that's much better than starving your brain of oxygen multiple times a night while you lose the weight or treat whatever cause there is to get rid of it in the first place. All right, Carol Dahl says, what is the recommendation for those who have high lipoprotein A level? You know, Joel Kahn just wrote a book about a lipoprotein. He just sent it to me in the mail. I assume it's out. But I don't know, maybe I just got kind of a preprint edition. It's mostly recipes, but I've got some videos coming up on lipoprotein A, which is largely a genetically determined risk factor. But that's what we thought. And it was put to the test with the whole food plant-based diet. We were able to significantly decrease LP-little-a. Any foods in particular, AMLA, dried Indian gooseberry powder, also can lower LP-little-a levels. Anyway, videos are coming up. Make sure you're subscribed to NutritionFacts.org to get pinged when any new videos are coming up. And I'm working on like a dozen videos on COVID-19, where the virus came from, what we can do about it to protect ourselves and our families, and how we can prevent the next pandemic, all coming up NutritionFacts.org, although may actually be back to audio. Remember how all my videos used to be just kind of me kind of narrating over the papers? And now I'm kind of on screen talking about the papers, and the papers are next to me. I don't think we can get a camera crew together, but I may be able to still get into an audio booth to record them. So maybe going back to the old school method, but those videos will be up regardless. Okay, we'll figure it out somehow, even if I have to record it in my closet or something. Okay, where are we? Okay, N8 Dizzle says, is it possible that phosphatidylserine in white beans and soy could raise phosphatidylserine levels in the body and aid the entry of the viruses? I would not worry about that. I don't even know why that. I don't understand the connection you're trying to make, and I encourage people to keep eating their beans. James 921 says, is using green. Oh, we already did that one. Sandy R says nails are brittle. We're told to need more protein. So 97% of Americans get enough protein. Typically, the only people not getting enough protein are those who are just not eating enough, right? If you're starving yourself for whatever reason, unless you're just living off of cotton candy and iceberg lettuce, you will be getting enough protein. So I would just, you can sit down with one of these online diet calculators. Just make sure you're getting 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight. And if you are, then protein has nothing to do with your nails. Ja K, is pumpernickel bread made from whole rye fine to eat? Well, pumpernickel bread, one of the healthiest types of bread, if it indeed actually has whole rye berries in it. It's usually a combination of flour plus rye berries, but it's the rye berries that are a healthy part. And so you can just eat rye berries. You don't have to cook into bread. The reason the bread is not so great is because it's flour. The rest of it that's not the rye berry is flour. We should try not to eat powdered grains, even if it's whole grains, ideally. I talk about that a lot in my latest book, How Not to Diet. Also, salt is used in bread production, but you can get rye berries. I have for breakfast this morning had some rye berries in my prebiotic mix, right? Rye berries and purple barley and oat groats and black lentils. Oh, and I had some sorghum and finger millet in there. And so, yeah, you can just cook them up and they're very chewy and delicious. Yeah, that's what I would do. All right, 1 minute left. Let's see when I get to another one. Barbara Mitchell says, thank you so much for your information, education, and support. Wonderful. I wish the food industry would listen. It's not their fault. They're just trying to make money like anybody else. And the worst foods are the cheapest foods to give people, like brown sugar water. Whereas produce actually goes bad. Fruits and vegetables rot on the shelf. So there's just not a lot of money to be made. So I wouldn't rely on the food industry to give us healthy food. I think we just have to take our own choices for ourselves and our family and make these choices ourselves and not rely on them to provide us with healthy food. All right. I will see everyone April 8th. During my COVID-19 webinar. Again, all the videos will be up after that on NutritionFacts.org. New book coming out, ebook at least, and hopefully audiobook as well. if you click on the bell to, there should be a little bell up there that allows notifications. Then anytime I do like a live Q&A or something, you'll get like a little ping saying, oh, Gregor's live doing something. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody. Stay safe. Stay inside.